After we removed a storage unit from a small bedroom closet, we discovered several large gaping holes in the wall behind it. This problem needed immediate attention, as you could see into the bathroom on the other side of the wall. Thankfully, there's a straightforward solution to fix these holes in the wall, and it doesn't require any prior experience. Today, I'll guide you through the efficient and straightforward process of patching a large hole in the wall, as well as dealing with smaller nail holes and punctures. In case we haven't met, I'm Laura Lee. I use my knowledge as a formulator and 25 years of experience as a domestic engineer to help you create the home you want using the things you have. If you could use some help cleaning and repairing things around your house, please like and subscribe to my channel. You first want to assess the materials used on your wall and around the hole. This wall has over 70 years worth of paint layers and wallpaper. First, I use a sharp utility knife to trim the extra shell to bring everything down to the same level. Once you have removed any torn or uneven pieces, you're ready to proceed to the next step. I use self-adhesive wall patches to make the job faster and simpler. I found a great deal on a multi-pack of these helpful patches. I'll put those in the comment section below and the description. They're great because they're self-adhesive. You don't need to hold them on the wall while using the spackle or drywall mud. It makes it a lot easier to fix holes by yourself. The wall patches are not only self-adhesive, but also reinforced with an aluminum grid, making them incredibly strong. This makes them ideal for larger holes in your wall. Plus, you can cut them to size, making them even more cost-effective. You'll definitely get your money's worth out of each patch. We've already removed the loose paper and debris from our hole. It's a good idea to clean the wall around the hole with rubbing alcohol on a cloth. Avoid household sprays or soap of any kind. They will likely leave an invisible film, which can reduce the adhesive effect of your wall patches. Hold the patch up to the hole and draw a line at least 1/2 inch larger than the hole around the perimeter. Your patch needs to grip the wall around the hole. You don't want the patch to sit inside the hole. Without removing the paper backing, use utility scissors to trim the patch along the line you drew. Keep the paper backing on the patch until you can place it over the hole. Be careful not to scratch yourself on the patch's edges. They can be pretty sharp. Peel the paper backing off the patch to expose the adhesive. It's tacky enough to stay in place, but it is repositionable if you don't get it right the first time. Press the patch over the hole, ensuring it overlaps equally all around the perimeter. With your wall patch secure, you can apply joint compound or spackle. If you're using leftover drywall mud like me, make sure it hasn't dried out or molded. If it has been sitting unused for a while, you'll need to stir it up with a stout wooden paint stirrer. Make sure to stir all the way to the bottom of the tub. A wooden paint stirrer is most convenient and effective for applying drywall mud to a wall patch. Once it's on the patch, I smooth it out using the smallest drywall knife I have available. I'll post a great deal on a set of drywall knives in the description below. They're always handy to have around for home repairs and projects. Apply and spread small amounts of drywall mud, evenly coating the entire patch. The small aluminum grid on the patch holds drywall mud in place, allowing you to cover and smooth the surface. Applying large amounts of mud to cover the patch in one fast swoop is unnecessary. This will result in lumps, unevenness, and waste. Instead, work from the center of the hole toward the outside edges. Once the patch is evenly coated, add more spackle or joint compound, feathering it beyond the perimeter edges. Apply more pressure as you pull the drywall knife away from the hole. The goal is to have thinner edges all around the patch than on top of the patch. This creates a more uniform appearance after you sand and repaint the wall. Allow the drywall mud to dry completely before continuing. A handy color changing spackle is available to indicate when the mud is ready for sanding. I'll post that link below. A word of caution, if you apply any drywall mud or spackle too thick, the outer layer may look and feel dry, but underneath is still uncured. Always use one finger to gently press the patched area to be sure it's dry all the way through before attempting to sand it. Otherwise, you'll be back to square one. Once the spackle or mud is thoroughly dry, you may lightly sand. Apply just enough pressure to lightly scuff the surface of the dry mud. When the surface is sufficiently prepared, you can apply another thin spackle or mud layer. Several thin layers are much better than a few thick layers. Repeat the process as necessary, ensuring the compound is dry before sanding each time. I would not apply more than 3 layers on the same day. This will help ensure the compound has cured adequately before adding more. Sanding drywall mud can be messy, but with the right safety measures, you can protect yourself. Wearing a good N95 mask, safety goggles, and a hairnet is a smart move. I found some good deals on these items, and they're worth every penny for a project like this. Look for that in the description below. After sanding everything smoothly, dust off the area with a terry cloth towel. You'll also need to vacuum up all the dust on the floor. I use my favorite shop vacuum for messes like this. Now you're ready to prime and paint. You must prime so the paint will adhere to the dry joint compound. Primer also helps keep the texture of your walls more uniform. Here's a neat trick for making a drastic color change when painting your walls. It doesn't cost any extra money and makes a massive difference in the success of your project. Get a good quality primer like Kills 2 and have the paint counter associate tint it light gray. Gray neutralizes better than white when covering a bright color like turquoise. You'll notice this theory in practice when professionals repaint cars. The primer is gray rather than white. It offers better coverage and a better base for the new color. This may result in less paint and fewer layers to get the coverage you want. Another painting trick to save some money is lining your paint tray with extra wide aluminum foil. Plastic tray liners are great for larger jobs, but aluminum foil will do the trick when touching up areas, like after patching a hole. I'll be repainting the inside of this small bedroom closet, so I'm using aluminum foil rather than wasting a new plastic paint tray liner for this job. Once you have primed the patched area, allow it to completely dry before finishing with the paint color of your choice. The day I primed was rainy and humid, so I added a box fan and allowed extra drying time before finishing. After priming, you can see how smooth the wall is. All the holes are gone, the patches are done. Now we're ready for the final step. No matter how long it's been since the last time you used it, pigment solids will settle at the bottom of the paint can. Even if you just had the paint mixed and shaken at the store, you can't over-stir paint. Every now and then, run the wooden stir stick along the bottom of the can and lift it up to see how thick the paint is. If there is any difference in the viscosity in the paint at the bottom and the top of the can, keep stirring. If the paint is extra thick or in a large bucket, using a paint paddle, like the one I'm going to link in the description, may be better. It attaches to a drill and does an excellent job stirring the paint, ensuring pigments are evenly distributed for even coverage. I like to use small rollers and roller covers for smaller jobs or painting in tight spaces like this closet. Something I did wrong for years was painting straight up and down with a paint roller. I learned you should begin painting with a W or M shape and fill it in. This cuts down on streakiness and missing spots. Now that we have patched and painted a large hole in the wall, let's see how to fix these minor punctures, tears, and splits. A good rule of thumb is that if the hole or tear is larger than a pencil eraser, you should use some type of patch. You can rip off a piece of drywall tape, dampen it, and attach it over smaller holes with drywall mud. If the hole is larger than a dime, it's wise to use a reinforced patch like the one we used for the large hole. You always want to cut off any excess ragged edges with a sharp utility knife, or you can use a drywall knife. Holes smaller than a pencil eraser can easily be covered with a drywall mud or spackle alone. A couple of words of caution. Do not squirt any caulk in holes in your drywall. It will never sand down and blend in with the rest of the wall once it's painted. Also, you may have to do several passes of drywall mud, allowing it to dry between each pass. If you try to fill the holes with a lot of joint compound at once, the mud will be too thick to dry sufficiently. One of my all-time favorite tricks for tiny pinpoint holes is using a white peroxide-free toothpaste. This saved us from potentially losing our deposit on our first rental house. You can't use gel toothpaste. Cheap white toothpaste without any fancy features fills pinpoint holes perfectly. Place a tiny dab on the end of your finger and run it over the hole. Run a dry finger over it again to remove the excess. Allow it to dry, sand, and paint. It dries hard like spackle when used in a tiny quantity. If you have an apartment and have hung items on your walls with push pins, this is the ideal solution before moving out. I'll post several links to the items I used below in the description. I hope you found today's video helpful. I pack as many tips and tricks as possible with each tutorial. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I look forward to seeing you next time. God bless.